the ancient principle that explains human success. Imagine an opulent Persian palace 3,000 years ago, where the air is thick with the scent of incense and the echoes of royal decrees. A humble Brahmin named Sissa ben Dahir kneels before Emperor Shiram, presenting a meticulously carved wooden board divided into 64 alternating black and white squares. This invention, the game of chess, captivates the emperor, who sees in it a metaphor for strategy, war, and life itself. Overwhelmed with gratitude, the emperor offers Sissa any reward his heart desires: vast treasures of gold, glittering jewels, entire provinces, or even the hand of his most cherished daughter in marriage. Sissa, with a serene bow, declines these extravagant offers. Instead, he makes a request that appears deceptively simple. "Your Majesty, I ask only for grains of wheat. Place 1 grain on the first square of the chessboard, 2 on the second, 4 on the third, and continue doubling the amount for each subsequent square until the 64th. The emperor chuckles at what he perceives as modesty bordering on foolishness. He summons his stewards to fulfill this trivial demand, expecting a single sack of wheat to suffice. However, as the counting begins, the reality unfolds with astonishing rapidity. By the 20th square, wagons are required to transport the grains. By the 30th, entire warehouses are emptied. By the 40th, the royal granaries stand barren. Upon reaching the 64th square, the total amounts to an incomprehensible 18 quintillion, 446 quadrillion, 744 trillion 73 billion, 709,551,615 grains. More wheat than has ever been harvested across the entire planet. The emperor's amusement turns to awe, then to humility. He realizes he has not been deceived by trickery, but enlightened by a profound mathematical truth: the power of exponential growth. This force, embedded in the fabric of the universe, is the ancient principle that underpins every monumental human achievement throughout history. It predates currency, scripted language, and urban civilizations. It is the principle of compounding. Yet, in our modern era, few grasp its full implications. Human cognition is wired for linear progression. We anticipate that greater effort yields proportionally greater results. Labor more intensively, and income increases accordingly. Dedicate additional hours to study, and academic performance improves in kind. Save methodically, and wealth accumulates steadily. This linear mindset provides a sense of equity, control, and security. However, the cosmos does not operate on linear terms. It favors compounding, where small, consistent increments amplify over time into transformative outcomes. The distinction between linear and compounding approaches separates mundane existences from those of enduring legacy. To illustrate, consider 3 hypothetical young professionals in London during the post-war economic boom of 1955, each aged 25 and earning modest salaries. The first, Margaret, invests £100 in a conservative index fund tracking the Financial Times stock exchange and makes no further contributions, allowing it to grow untouched. The second, Elizabeth, forgoes investment altogether, spending her £100 on fashionable attire to enhance her immediate social standing. Now introduce a third individual, Anne, who mirrors Margaret's initial £100 investment, but commits to adding another £100 annually for the subsequent 40 years before ceasing contributions. Assuming a historical real return of approximately 5% per annum in the British equity market, compounded yearly, the outcomes by 2015 are revealing. Margaret's solitary investment grows to around £2,000, a respectable sum, yet insufficient to alter her lifestyle dramatically. Anne's portfolio, bolstered by regular deposits, balloons to over £340,000. The same market conditions and return rates apply. The divergence stems solely from the compounding effect of consistent, incremental inputs. This narrative extends beyond finance. It permeates all facets of human endeavor. Leonardo da Vinci did not ascend to iconic status by exerting tenfold the effort of his Renaissance peers. Rather, he cultivated marginal improvements in observation and technique daily over 5 decades. His voluminous notebooks chronicle thousands of minute insights. The refraction of light on curved surfaces, the vortex patterns in flowing water, the anatomical precision of avian wings. Each notation, seemingly insignificant in isolation, compounded into masterpieces such as the Mona Lisa and the Last Supper, alongside visionary sketches for flying machines centuries ahead of their realization. Similarly, the Beatles' transcendence from a regional Liverpool act to global phenomena was not due to innate talent 10 times superior to contemporaries. It resulted from an extraordinary volume of practice. Over 1,200 performances in Hamburg clubs between 1960 and 1964. Enduring 8-hour sets nightly, 7 days a week, they refined stage presence, musical synchronization, and audience engagement through iterative refinements. These compounded increments forged an unparalleled cohesion, rendering them invincible upon their 1964 breakthrough. In the realm of physical achievement, Arnold Schwarzenegger's legendary physique emerged not from lifting weights 10 times heavier than rivals, but from marginally superior intensity and frequency sustained across 15 years. This regimen yielded 7 Mr. Olympia titles, establishing him as the epitome of human muscular development. This pattern manifests recurrently across disciplines. J.K. Rowling faced rejection from 12 publishing houses before Bloomsbury extended a modest 1,500-pound advance for a mere 500 copies of her debut novel. Many would have abandoned the pursuit after half that number of setbacks. Rowling's persistence, submitting manuscript after manuscript, compounded into the Harry Potter series, which has sold over 600 million copies worldwide, reshaping literature and popular culture. Compounding operates bidirectional, amplifying both constructive and detrimental habits. A regimen of reading 20 pages daily accumulates to approximately 150 books over 5 years, sufficient to attain expertise in numerous fields. Conversely, allocating 3 extraneous hours daily to social media, scrolling equates to 5,475 hours in the same period, time that could alternatively master 3 languages, complete a doctoral degree, or amass substantial wealth. The originators of the chessboard legend in ancient India comprehended this principle more intuitively than contemporary societies. Paralleling this, Babylonian scribes around 2000 BCE inscribed compound interest calculations on clay tablets, employing formulas akin to modern ones. Equals P, 1 plus R, caret N. They applied it to silver loans at rates up to 20% annually. Hypothetically, a single shekel loan during Hammurabi's reign, if compounded uninterrupted, would exceed the value of 1 billion Earth-sized gold spheres today. Roman philosophers echoed this understanding. Seneca the Younger posited that luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. Preparation, in essence, is the compounding of skills and knowledge. Opportunity serves as the catalyst. Many fixate on elusive opportunities while disregarding the gradual accrual of preparatory elements. In the medieval era, the Persian mathematician Al-Khwarizmi, whose legacy bequeathed the term algorithm, authored treatises on exponential growth. Islamic scholars safeguarded and augmented this wisdom during Europe's Dark Ages, ensuring its transmission to future generations. The Renaissance witnessed Italian banking dynasties, such as the Medici, harnessing compounding to amass fortunes that influenced global affairs. Lorenzo da Medici did not dominate through military conquest, but through financial acumen. Subtle advantages in lending rates, compounded across generations, funded patronage of artists like Michelangelo, Botticelli, and Galileo, catalyzing cultural rebirth. Across the Atlantic, Benjamin Franklin embodied this principle. Commencing at age 20, he adhered to a dawn routine of reading, writing, and strategic planning, maintaining it for decades. This discipline propelled him to eminence as a printer, inventor, scientist, diplomat, and American founding father. Upon his death, he bequeathed £1,000 each to Boston and Philadelphia, stipulating compound interest accrual for 2 centuries. By 1990, these funds had appreciated to $6.5 million. Franklin's axiom, "Energy and persistence conquer all things," underscores the necessity of sustained application. However, mere persistence is insufficient. It must target high-leverage domains. A common fallacy is that compounding rewards undifferentiated effort. It does not. Effort must align with activities yielding disproportionate returns. Drafting one page daily exemplifies compounding. Yet, persisting for a decade without honing editing skills, studying exemplary works, or soliciting critiques devolves into linear drudgery. Authentic mastery integrates 3 pillars. 1. Incremental daily actions. 2. Focus on high-impact competencies. 3. Unyielding consistency spanning decades. Deficiency in any pillar undermines the process. Tiger Woods' golf dominance stemmed not from generic practice, but from emphasizing pivotal elements like short-game precision and psychological resilience, while peers emphasized less critical driving range sessions. This marginal superiority, compounded over 20 years, secured 14 major championships by his early 30s. Ancient Chinese proverbs capture this as sharpening the axe before chopping. Abraham Lincoln reputedly asserted that, given 8 hours to fell a tree, he would allocate 6 to axe sharpening. In contrast, most expend all 8 wielding a blunt tool. The most counterintuitive aspect of compounding is its delayed manifestation. The growth trajectory remains nearly imperceptible for the initial decade, fostering doubt and self-questioning. Observers perceive others advancing more swiftly, prompting widespread abandonment. 99% succumb here. Abruptly, the curve ascends steeply. Jeff Bezos termed this the long nose of innovation. Amazon incurred losses or marginal profits from 1994 to 2004, inviting investor derision. By 2010, its valuation reached $100 billion. Today, it surpasses many nations' gross domestic products. The compounding that nearly doomed the enterprise early on rendered it indomitable later. Biological evolution mirrors compounding on geological timescales. A mere 0.1% generational survival edge, sustained over 1 million iterations, differentiates a primitive primate from Homo sapiens. The human brain functions as a supreme compounding apparatus. Each ingested book, engaged dialogue, and practiced skill deposits neural interest. A decade hence, one commands subjects previously opaque. Society labels this wisdom. It is merely accrued experience compounded. Regrettably, many depart this world with untapped potential. They frequently switch vocations biennially, fracturing career compounding. They alternate fitness regimes monthly, disrupting physical compounding. They engage in transient relationships without pattern analysis, impeding emotional compounding. They sample a single self-improvement volume and dismiss the category, halting intellectual compounding. Victors invert this paradigm, selecting a domain early and committing long-term, embracing the journey over instantaneous rewards. Warren Buffett has adhered to a consistent investment philosophy since 1957, operating from the same Nebraska headquarters, consuming the same beverages, and applying timeless value principles. This 2% annual outperformance against benchmarks, compounded over 7 decades, has amassed a $140 billion fortune at age 95, one of history's greatest. A 2% differential appears negligible. Compounded across 70 years, it constitutes totality. This renders the principle seemingly inequitable, and indeed it is. The universe eschews egalitarianism. It embraces exponentially. Fortunately, accessibility is universal. Genius, privilege, or fortunes are superfluous. Requisites mirror those of antiquity. 1. Defined trajectory, the chessboard framework. 2. Modest routine contributions, wheat grains. 3. Temporal patience, 64 iterations. Eliminate justifications, diversions, and demands for prompt gratification. Initiate prematurely. The inaugural increment seems absurd, the subsequent futile. By the 30th, momentum becomes inexorable. In the legend's variants, the emperor ultimately bestows upon Sissa not grains, but enlightenment, elevating him to vizier in some accounts, or in darker renditions, executing him for unveiling exponentiality's daunting potency to a linearly minded sovereign. Our epic affords unrestricted access to this insight. The sole inquiry. Do we possess the fortitude to implement it? For the ancient principle elucidating human triumph transcends intellect, innate ability, or sheer toil. It is the subtle, inexorable, profoundly potent mechanism transforming a solitary grain into a colossus eclipsing mountain ranges. It is compounding, and it awaits activation on your inaugural square. To delve deeper, examine compounding's role in scientific breakthroughs. Consider Charles Darwin's formulation of natural selection. Over 20 years, he amassed observations from global voyages, fossil studies, and breeding experiments. Each data point, minor alone, compounded into on the origin of species, revolutionizing biology. Darwin's methodical journaling of species variations, geological formations, and ecological interactions built layer upon layer of evidence, culminating in a theory that explained the diversity of life on Earth. In technology, Tim Berners-Lee's World Wide Web emerged from incremental integrations of hypertext, networking, and information systems at CERN. Small prototypes in the 1980s compounded into the Internet's backbone by the 1990s. Berners-Lee began with basic proposals for linked documents, gradually incorporating feedback from colleagues and testing iterations, which exponentially expanded accessibility to knowledge worldwide. Business titans like Elon Musk exemplify this. SpaceX's reusable rockets resulted from iterative failures, each launch refining designs marginally. Compounded, they reduced space travel costs by orders of magnitude. Musk's approach involved persistent testing of Falcon 1 through Falcon 9 models, where each setback informed subsequent improvements, leading to landmarks such as the first orbital-class rocket reflight in 2017. Personal health offers practical applications. A 1% daily improvement in diet or exercise, reducing calories slightly or adding steps, compounds into profound transformations. Over a year, it equates to 37-fold enhancement per mathematical models. For instance, someone starting with a 2,000-step daily walk and increasing by 1% each day would reach over 7,000 steps within months, fostering sustainable weight loss and cardiovascular health without overwhelming changes. Counterexamples abound, highlighting pitfalls. The Roman Empire's fall partly stemmed from halted compounding. Complacency eroded military, economic, and infrastructural edges accumulated over centuries. Once dominant legions weakened as training regimens lapsed, borders expanded unsustainably, and internal divisions compounded negatively, leading to collapse by 476 CE. In modern finance, the 2008 crisis arose when compounding debt outpaced income growth, illustrating negative exponentially. Subprime mortgages, bundled and leveraged through derivatives, amplified risks exponentially, resulting in a global recession that erased trillions in value. To harness compounding personally, identify leverage points. In career, focus on skills like communication or coding yielding exponential returns. For example, mastering public speaking through daily practice can lead to promotions and leadership roles over time. Track progress. Journals or apps quantify daily inputs, ensuring consistency. Tools like habit tracking software provide data visualizations that reinforce commitment. Surround with enablers. Mentors and communities amplify compounding through shared knowledge. Joining professional networks allows for collaborative learning, accelerating personal growth. Mitigate interruptions. Life events disrupt. Resilience rebuilds momentum. Strategies such as contingency planning ensure quick recovery from setbacks. Psychologically, combat the valley of disappointment, the flat initial phase, via visualization of long-term curves. Techniques from cognitive behavioral therapy, such as reframing short-term plateaus as investments, sustain motivation. Neuroscience validates this. Habit formation via myelin sheath thickening around neural pathways mirrors compounding, enhancing efficiency over repetitions. Studies show that repeated actions strengthen brain connections, making behaviors automatic and effortless. Economically, nations thrive on it. Singapore's transformation from third-world port to global hub in 50 years resulted from compounded investments in education, infrastructure, and trade. Lee Kuan Yew's policies emphasize consistent human capital development, yielding one of the world's highest GDPs per capita. In education, Finland's system emphasizes consistent, quality teaching over intensive cramming, yielding superior outcomes. By focusing on teacher training and student well-being daily, it compounds into high international test scores and innovative thinkers. Literature reflects this. Homer's epics compounded oral traditions over generations into timeless works. Bards refined stories incrementally, passing them down until they formed the Iliad and Odyssey, foundational to Western literature. Artistically, Picasso's 50,000+ creations stemmed from daily experimentation, compounding into cubism. His relentless sketching and painting evolved styles progressively, influencing modern art profoundly. Musically, Bach's weekly compositions over decades produced over 1,000 masterpieces. Serving as a church musician, he built upon prior works, creating complex fugues and cantatas that defined Baroque music. Athletically, Michael Jordan's failure mantra, missing 9,000+ shots, compounded into 6 championships. His daily drills turned weaknesses into strengths, exemplifying deliberate practice. Environmentally, climate change exemplifies adverse compounding. Incremental emissions accumulate into catastrophic shifts. Annual increases in CO2 levels compound to alter weather patterns, sea levels, and biodiversity irreversibly. Positively, reforestation projects like China's Great Green Wall demonstrate how planted trees compound into ecological restoration. Initiated in 1978, billions of trees have combated desertification, improving soil and climate over vast areas. In relationships, daily affirmations and conflict resolutions compound into enduring bonds. Small acts of kindness and communication build trust exponentially, reducing divorce rates in couples who prioritize consistency. Parenting applies similarly. Consistent guidance shapes character exponentially. Daily reading sessions with children compound into advanced literacy and cognitive skills by adolescence. Spiritually, meditative practices compound inner peace over lifetimes. Regular mindfulness sessions reduce stress hormones cumulatively, leading to profound equanimity. Technologically, Moore's Law, transistor doubling every 2 years, compounded computing power from room-sized machines to pocket supercomputers. Gordon Moore's 1965 observation held for decades, enabling the digital revolution. AI development follows suit. Incremental data and algorithms compound into sophisticated models. From early neural networks to modern large language models, each advancement builds on prior datasets and computations. Historically, the Industrial Revolution showcased compounding on a societal scale. James Watt's steam engine improvements in the 1760s compounded through iterative engineering, powering factories and railways that transformed economies. In medicine, Edward Jenner's smallpox vaccine in 1796 initiated compounding in public health. Subsequent refinements and global campaigns eradicated the disease by 1980, saving millions through accumulated immunological knowledge. Philosophically, Aristotle's Peripatetic school emphasized daily inquiry, compounding into systematic ethics and logic that influenced millennia of thought. In exploration, Christopher Columbus's voyages compounded European knowledge of the Americas, leading to trade routes that reshaped global commerce. Military strategy, as in Sun Tzu's The Art of War, advocates compounding small advantages into victory, a principle applied in campaigns from ancient China to modern warfare. In agriculture, selective breeding over generations compounded crop yields, from ancient domestication to the Green Revolution's high-yield varieties. Social movements, like the Civil Rights era, compounded through persistent advocacy. Martin Luther King Jr.'s speeches built on prior efforts, culminating in legislative changes. In space exploration, NASA's Apollo program compounded engineering feats from Mercury to Gemini, achieving the 1969 moon landing. Contemporary examples include social media platforms. Facebook's user growth compounded from Harvard dorms to billions, leveraging network effects. In renewable energy, solar panel efficiency improvements compound to make clean power viable, reducing costs exponentially since the 1970s. To conclude, compounding is the silent architect of success, ancient yet timeless. Embrace it, and ordinary actions yield extraordinary legacies. By understanding and applying this principle across domains, individuals and societies can achieve unprecedented heights.